Your Excellency, Mr. Azali Assoumani, President of the Republic of Comoros and the Chairperson of the African Union, Excellencies, heads of state and government who are here present, commissioners, dear colleagues, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. As we gather here today at the COP28, we are faced with a critical challenge that demands our unwavering attention and concerted effort, the imperative to scale up finance for climate action and green growth in Africa. The first global stocktake under the Paris Agreement highlights the need for increased commitment to prevent a warming of close to 3 degrees Celsius. Unfortunately, Africa contributes less than 4% of global greenhouse gas emissions, but is most vulnerable to the impacts of climate change. This has led to a significant impact on our economies. On average, we are experiencing 5% loss of GDP annually, with some countries experiencing loss up to 15%. Additionally, some of our nations are compelled to allocate unplanned budgets up to 9% to mitigate the impact of extreme weather conditions. At COP28 and beyond, countries must respond to the global stocktake with increased mitigation and climate finance ambition, a fully operational and funded loss and damage fund, enhanced commitments to significantly increase adaptation funding, and support for just and equitable transitions that speaks to Africa's special needs and circumstances. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, we recognize that the scale of investment required to address climate change far exceeds the current levels of funding available, particularly for adaptation and resilience, which requires investments to the tune of 87 billion annually, US dollars, according to the Africa Group of Negotiators. We must seize the many mitigation opportunities available to us to secure a sustainable future for the continent. Above all, it is incumbent upon us to take decisive action. We must mobilize resources and channel investments towards climate resilient and low-carbon development pathways. This requires a fundamental shift in how we approach finance, embracing innovative mechanisms and partnerships that unlock the necessary resources for sustainable development in Africa. To achieve this, we need to explore ways to leverage Africa's own resources and capital markets, while also advocating for a revamp of the global financial system to better serve Africa's needs. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to highlight 4 ways in which Africa can take advantage of its resources and strategic collaborations to finance climate action and green growth. First, we must prioritize investments in the deployment of the continent's abundant renewable energy resources and the transformation of its critical minerals to develop regional and global clean energy value chains. With an estimated growth of the battery and electric vehicle market to the tune of 8.8 trillion by 2025 and 48 trillion by 2050, Africa must move fast to capture this market. This was indicated by the study by the Bloomberg recently. The cooperation framework between the DRC and Zambia that the ECA, African Union Commission, Afreximbank, Africa Development Bank, AFC, and BADEA facilitated aimed at establishing a transboundary special economic zone for the development of a battery and electric vehicle value chain is an indication that Africa is on the right track. Second, we must focus on scaling up innovative financing mechanisms, such as the ECA's SDG 7 initiative, which has made it possible to issue a green bond worth 3 billion rands in local currency for investments in renewable energy projects in South Africa. Third, there is a great potential in developing the African carbon market carbon credit market to unlock additional green financing for Africa. Africa's research shows that at $120 per ton of carbon, nature-based carbon credits could generate 82 billion on the annual basis, which is about 1.5 times the amount of money that we get in terms of the official development aid. But it's not important that we exercise caution when it comes to relying on voluntary carbon credits from nature-based solutions as a key source of climate finance in Africa. Instead, we must equip our member states with the necessary data-driven evidence to gain a better understanding of the nuances and risks involved with this approach. We must address the asymmetry between demand and supply to ensure that Africa's participation in carbon markets involves a high integrity of credits and is inclusive. In view of this, ECA is supporting the Climate Commission of the Congo Basin to develop a carbon registry and protocols for transparency. Furthermore, our African Climate Policy Center supports capacity strengthening on Article 6 of the Paris Agreement. Fourth, the need to develop and roll out a pipeline of bankable projects on the continent cannot be overemphasized. The UN Regional Commission's collaboration with the Glasgow Financial Alliance for Net Zero and the UN Climate Change High-Level Champion to scale up the pipeline of bankable climate projects is making progress, but more needs to be done to attract funding for large and transformative projects. In Africa, we are working with the African Union Commission to enhance the bankability of PIDA projects under this initiative. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, as I end my remarks, my call to you is the urgency to focus on how we can support, scale up, and connect these Africa-driven initiatives and identify and address barriers for action. The decisions we make here today will reverberate for generations to come. We have the opportunity to work together to demonstrate our collective resolve, vision, and solidarity as a continent at the United Nations Summit of the Future next year. I thank you so much for your kind attention.